Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Bonsais Forever. Okay, so I have a ficus benjamina. So this ficus benjamina, you might recognize it as a tree that I've done recently. I cannot remember when I did it recently. I did not go back and look. But this tree is already pushing itself out of the pot. One thing about ficus trees, when they're growing really well and growing rapidly during the summer, spring, early fall, I mean, they just grow a lot. This tree actually has new growth. Well, that's not new growth. It's a lighter colored leaf. It's got a new leaf starting right here, and a new one starting here. This one's actually hardened off. It does have a couple of yellow leaves. It is fall. They tend to drop some leaves during the fall. But everywhere on this tree that it can have a little bud at the end of each branch, it does. So it's still growing really good. But what I was getting at, when they're growing really rapidly, they put on some really healthy roots. They grow roots really quickly. So we're gonna go ahead and repot this. I'm going to look behind me because actually check this out. So excited about this. So all of my pots, I finally got my shelf finished. I will probably do some modifications to it, put some more shelves up, all kinds of stuff. So just thought that was really cool. But I'm looking over there. I don't see any other pots currently that would work for this tree. So we're gonna go ahead and put it back in this pot. So one thing that I wonder about sometimes when I'm talking to people that don't know a lot about bonsai is when you repot a tree, do you change the pot? You know, do you get a different pot? Do you have to upsize the pot? Do you have to, I'm like, what are you doing with the pot, right? So today I'm going to show you that you don't have to change the pot. I have my bucket down here with my soil. I'm trying to collect all of my bonsai soil in a larger tub right now so that I can clean it and reuse it, which is something else that as a beginner you guys can also reuse the soil that came in your tree as long as you clean the soil. So I'll have to do another video some other time on cleaning the soil. I don't want to be out here all night making videos tonight. My back has been killing me the last couple of days, so I'm going to try and get through this video because I haven't put out a whole lot of videos lately. I'm going to be putting out one, or I should have just put out one not too long ago about a bonsai challenge. So go and check that out if you haven't already. And so I think I'm going to title it Juniper Bonsai Challenge. Horton Bonsai, Ryan from Horton Bonsai put that out, so that'll probably be in my description as well. So go ahead and check that out and support Ryan over at Horton Bonsai as well. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take it out of the pot and put it in a tray. I got a pick here. You can use pretty much anything. Let's see what else I got. I've got a metal chopstick that you could use. Just basically, you're just trying to loosen the soil. You could get a stick to do this. I have seen some YouTubers, they'll use like a fork that they've bent, and let's see, where's my fork? So I made this. It was out of copper tubing. I flattened it out. I mean, I know that not everybody has that those resources, but that works really good. It's like a little rake. So basically what I'm trying to do with this tree right now is I'm trying to rake off all of these little weeds off the top of the soil, because weeds in your soil, some weeds aren't so bad because they don't have giant roots. Like this little guy doesn't have giant roots yet, if you can see that. But once they get bigger, I mean this whole mat right here is pretty much roots from these weeds. So having a small space, this small space for that tree to grow in, you want to make sure that 90% of the space, at least 90% of the space, is used for the tree. You know, you don't want to have all that space used up by weeds. So we're going to clean off the sides. I don't want to completely take all the soil out of this tree. It's doing really well. It is wintertime, and that doesn't have a huge effect on the tropical trees, because they are kept in either inside at this time of year or they're kept in my greenhouse. So if it's your tree that you're working on and it's a tropical tree, then it should be inside about this time of year because it is winter. Well, at least here in the northern hemisphere. If you're in the southern hemisphere, then y'all are going into summer, I think it is. Y'all are either in spring or going into summer or already in summer. So good for y'all. But here in the northern hemisphere, we are still in winter. So I don't want to take off too much, but I do want to try and get as many of these weeds removed from the surface as I can, either pulling them out or scraping off that soil. The scraping off the top layer of soil also removes the seeds from the weeds, at least hopefully. I mean, it doesn't always, but hopefully it does. And taking off the weeds when they're still really small, that's really helpful as well, because then they don't seed. And then you've taken them off and you don't have to worry about them later. Now, if you have your trees outside, all right, good luck with that, because seeds fly through the wind or whatever. Birds carry them. Like, I don't know how some of these trees get weeds on them, but they get there. So we just take them out as soon as we see them. Grass, that is like the worst, because grass actually grows a really, really fat, thick, long root mat. And we don't want that in our trees, because I mean that takes up a lot of space. So like I was saying, some weeds, it's not as bad, but like grasses, that's one thing that you really don't want in your trees. Going back to grasses, there is a type of grass that grows out here in Florida that grows a very small, very short grass, and that actually kind of looks good in the tree, and it doesn't take up so much space with the roots either, because I've dug them out and they've got like a really thin mat of roots, which that wouldn't be so bad in a bonsai tree. So looking at my bench here, it's looking like I might need a wider bench, because this working on taller trees is a little tough. So still getting it situated. So we'll figure it all out here in the near future. All right, so I put a screen in the pot, and so that's what I'm trying to take out right now. I'm trying to get the screen out of here. And with the ficus benjaminas, I'm not worried about ripping the roots a little bit. I don't want to necessarily break any of the fatter roots right now, but I might have to cut some of them, because some of these roots right here are actually going through the screen, and they've already thickened up on the other side of the screen like that. So this tree needed to be repotted sooner than now. With the benjaminas, as soon as you see them start to push themselves out of the pot, that's really when you need to get in there and repot them, because otherwise you've got these really fat roots going through the let's see if I can bang that off. See, you got these really fat roots going through the screen already. So what I do, I just take the roots out of the screen because I'll reuse this screen. The screen looks like it's getting a little bit damaged from the roots going through it. It's got a couple of larger holes in it. If you can see that. I don't even know if you can see through that. But anyway, it's got a couple of larger holes in it. But that's okay. Where it sits in the pot, it's not going to have that much effect on it. Okay, so I'm looking at where I keep my tools, and I don't have any of my tools in here. So I'm going to go grab those. All right. So I'm going to use these scissors here. Shorten all of these roots back. And don't be worried about the roots being cut and then putting it back into the bonsai soil, because these roots heal really quickly, and they I've never had any issues with getting any kind of rot in the roots, even right after trimming them. I'll water them, so I've never had any issues with that. So go ahead and just cut the roots back. I mean, there's some really chunky roots in here. Definitely want to have some solid scissors. I don't know if these are or not, but really have some really thick, chunky roots on these trees. Get a little bit closer. I feel like you guys are like sitting clear on the other side of. Oh, where's the tree at? Okay, I'm gonna move this. It's distracting me. All right, here we go. So I'm just going to go through and feel through the roots. And I know I've done a few videos on the Benjaminas and repotting them and stuff like that, but I just kind of wanted to explain that you can go through and repot these as often as you feel necessary, because these things grow. These things grow roots, really big roots, really fast. When you're first repotting your tree, like the first couple of times you repot it, you're going to want to go through the root system and make sure you don't have any roots that are crossing or going to strangle other roots, like this big root right here. And it's going across everything. I'm going to trim that back to where it's coming straight out, and it will grow new smaller roots coming out of this section here, like it did right here, because that I chopped off not too long ago. I think the last time I worked on it, I chopped this off, and look, it's already got giant roots coming out the end of it. So that's one thing about these trees, trying to keep the root system small on these, looking like a bonsai tree, or looking like I don't know, like some other trees that don't have these giant roots. Yeah, it's really tough to keep them from getting giant roots. So just go through whenever you're repotting it and cut back some of the larger roots. There is a way that I haven't done it, but I know that there's a way that you can just chop these roots like way back and like regrow a new root system on these. These trees do well as cuttings. I've never made a cutting from a branch this big, or a trunk rather this big, but in the right conditions I think it could be done, where if all of these roots just look so terrible that you don't like them, you could either air layer it right above the root system, or you could probably just chop this off, put it in some rooting hormones, put it in some soil, and it'll just grow a new root system. But then you've got the opportunity for this to happen again. So you just have to kind of keep up on it. And I'll be honest, I don't. With a lot of my trees, I don't really keep up on the root system that great. So I just have to go through and cut back really big fat roots, which honestly I don't really mind that. But if that's something that you don't really want to do, then go through your root system more often or sooner than I do. So, well, yeah, I was saying earlier, you don't really want to go that deep into it at this stage, but maybe I do because some of these roots are getting really, really large under here, and this whole section right here is just like one big fat root. So I'm going to break a lot of these big chunky pieces out so it'll have more room for smaller roots to be in there. Let's see what this does here. And having just these finer roots, once I'm done, will be plenty of root for this tree. I'm going to just use these knob cutters so I can get in here. Take a lot of this big stuff out of here. Like I said earlier, don't be worried about taking off too many roots. I mean, as long as you have some roots, you're going to be just fine. I guess maybe one of the reasons why I have so many fat roots on my tree is because for the longest time I was too afraid to take off too much of the root system on these trees, and you really shouldn't be afraid of doing that because these trees just grow roots so fast. So go through and take off all the chunky roots and get it back to something that's nice looking. And as you can tell, these fat roots actually do put out feeder roots as well. So they're useful roots. They are useful, but they just take up so much space in the pot. And really, I could put this tree into a much bigger pot and have more space for the larger roots to be in there and do well, but I really don't want to right now. I think I do have a larger pot that I could put it in, but I just don't want to. I kind of like these funky roots on it. I just want to get it back to where where it has more space in the pot. And the rest of the tree can start growing a little bit better, because I think it has slowed down just a little bit because it was root bound. Actually, one of the ways to keep your tree small, for the beginners out there, one of the ways to keep your tree small is to keep it confined into a smaller pot. So that's how we keep a larger tree small. All right, so all of that goes into the recycle. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I've got all the loose roots out of here. All right. Now once I put soil in there, it's going to sit better. All right. So next thing that we're going to do is we'll put the screen back in the bottom to cover the larger holes in there. And we'll take some of soil. I'm going to put some of the larger soil on the bottom. Just a small layer. And that actually helps to aerate the bottom of the pot. And then I'm going to use my other bonsai soil on top of that. And that's a place for the new roots to go into. So then we're going to take our tree, we're going to make sure all the roots are in the pot, and we'll wiggle it down into that soil a little bit. You can build up the soil a little bit more. And there's a couple of chunky pieces in there. All right, I'm going to build it up just a little bit more. Started putting a little bit of compost in my bonsai soil recently. It helps not have to water as often, which has actually been helping with a few of my trees because I've been overwatering some of my trees. So having a little bit more organic soil in there has actually helped a little bit. I don't recommend doing a lot of organic soil in your bonsai soil. It should be mostly inorganic stuff. And that's to allow a lot of aeration in the soil. And honestly, I'm not really using organic material. It's cocoa fibers, which is, I think it's still considered an inorganic. It's very, very porous. I mean, it has a lot of space in between each particle, so it doesn't block up the soil. All right, so I'm going to add a substantial amount here, and then I'm going to chopstick this all in. And y'all have seen this before, so I'm going to, I'm just going to go ahead and do this and come back to y'all. So I got it all repotted here. I got it in the new pot. It's settled in. And I think the only other thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to take off this yellow leaf. It's bugging me. So I'm looking at the rest of it. I think there's a couple of pieces that look a little weird right now. This isn't really the time of year to be bending these trees, so I'm not going to put some wire on it right now, but springtime I'll probably put some wire on this and bend this, twist this down to where this is more of a pad looking. Probably bring some of these out just a little bit. I kind of like the fact that it's going in an upward direction. If y'all can see it, I need to get a shorter bench, I think, because I think this is a little bit too tall too. I'm gonna do some work on this in the near future. But anyway, so yeah, I think I like the fact that a lot of the branches are kind of going in an up and outward motion here. And I really don't want to trim off a whole lot. These trees bleed when you trim them. So I don't want to lose any of that right now this time of year. It's wintertime, like I said. So, and also with watering this, I am going to water it in, even though it is chilly out here. I'm going to have it in the greenhouse. The greenhouse stays about 50 degrees, which is fine for these trees to be watered. So I'm going to go ahead and put this out in the greenhouse and water it. So thanks for watching. I appreciate y'all's support, and I'll see you on the next one.